As January is historically a dry month for new game releases, I think continuing to work through my catalogue of older games is a valid tactic. I could of course visit Steam again, but my computer hasn't quite forgiven me for the last attempt to record gameplay through it, so that plan goes out the window. But it gives me a chance to slide across the shooting range to games that really deserve a harsh thrashing. Everreach Project Eden was the subject of my attention for a few days this week, but it did not stay that way for long because it made me too angry to keep playing it, and had it been on disc I would have yeeted it into the garden pond already. Everreach Project Eden follows Nora, a security human from Everreach, sent to the planet known as Eden to figure out what went wrong with the colony that's being established there and hopefully sort it all out. Only to be shot down on her way to the planet and forced to fight her way to the colonists for an army of corporate scumbags via some of the worst shooting of the generation. The gameplay overall is a complete flatline. Between the headache-inducing camera controls and the horrible character controls, there's just nothing to like about the game. Nora moves like she's wearing a suit made of stone, crouching reduces you down to a speed that would embarrass an elderly snail, and annoyingly, you can't just press the sprint button to get up and out of it again. You've got to stand up manually and then flee, which can be really annoying if you're under fire, which you usually are. And that might sound like a petty complaint, but considering your health depletes very fast under fire, and considering you can't do much damage yourself, it goes from little annoyance to completely fucking ludicrous. Not to mention the fact that Nora, a trained soldier, didn't think to bring any spare fucking ammo with her to a potentially hostile planet. Seriously, what the hell are Everreach doing when they train their soldiers? Do they just say, oh, by the way, you might need maybe 3 or 4 bullets going down to a potentially hostile environment? They're probably the most incompetent military entity in a sci-fi game since... oh, well, there's been so many, haven't there? Let's just pick one. The Colonial Marines, there you go. Aiming is for shit too. The camera controls being so wavy, even with the sensitivity adjusted, makes shooting a chore with any gun. And the fact that your starting weapons are an automatic rifle that can barely aim and a pistol that shoots once every maybe 2 seconds if you're lucky, wave goodbye to any chance of the combat being in the slightest bit enjoyable. The voice acting is the best part of the game. Of course, it's still terrible. This is a relativity game, people. Nora's voice actor especially, the performance given by this woman makes her sound like she's a sassy teenager in a school play that she doesn't really want to be a part of, but she got roped into it anyway.
Lieutenant Nora Harwood, Everreach Industries, Security Division.
Unauthorized.
Not that anyone else's voice acting is particularly amazing in the game, but hers is the one I'm stuck with the most, so hers is the one that's going to get the thrashing. I didn't get past more than 2 hours in this game because I kept running up against a particular wall. There's this one bit with like 10 enemy soldiers entrenched with a turret and support drones everywhere, and you are alone with maybe one drone that can distract for about 5 seconds before every fucker in a 2-mile radius spots you and starts attacking you. After a total of 4 tries, which each included a loading screen of about 30 plus seconds, I threw the game aside, remembering that my counsellor and friends have asked me to avoid self-harming, which playing more of this shit would probably be classified as. There's plenty more I can rage on when it comes to this game because, well, it's just a complete mess. The environment design may look alright, but there's no jump button. Your character just seems to stop moving sometimes when you're trying to go up some stairs or, you know, climb a very gentle slope that even Stephen Hawkins could have made his way up, God rest his soul, because the guys who programmed the game didn't know how to make a character move up a hill slightly. It's very, very frustrating to be stuck in a firefight, trying to get inside a building to take cover and just constantly bumping into the wall that isn't even a wall, but it's a slight raise in terrain and your character cannot jump. There's virtually nothing about this game that's likeable. There's no positive aspect of this entire experience. It is one of the worst games I've ever played. So, after I abandoned Everreach by the side of a road, I went back and booted up Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which is a better game, and a game I'd much rather be talking about. You know what? Screw it. It's my channel, so I'll talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. Fuck it. It's now a Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen review. You stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is a fantasy RPG where you are the Arisen, a person who is destined to slay the dragons and save the fantasy world. At least I think that's the story. I've got to be honest with you. I started playing this game late last year, and I've only recently picked it back up. I already had a save file lying around, so I don't remember the opening, because I couldn't be asked to start a new character. I didn't really intend to play this game at all. I was going to go back to Dark Souls to blow off some steam, and apparently this has been sat on my hard drive since then, and I accidentally clicked on it. I didn't expect it to last more than an hour, frankly, but the next thing I knew, several hours had passed, and I should have been in bed ages ago. It's your standard fantasy affair. There's a land with some random monsters and bandits, and lots of places to explore. You pick from one of 3 starting classes, and can hire a party of support characters to do quests with as you explore the land. And you can basically burgle anyone's house consequence-free because you are an RPG protagonist. That's just the law in RPG worlds. If you're a fantasy destined hero, you get to steal whatever you like. However, there are some more unique features to this game which I think deserve close examination. Mostly, it's the party system. More specifically, it's the way you create your main support NPC in very much the same way you create your player character. See, this game is one of those ones with a character customization engine, which personally I love. My favourite games are the ones that let you create your own character. Not that I've got anything against playing an established character, but I do find I enjoy games where I've had a hand in the creation of the character more. Anyway, doesn't matter right now. Well, actually, no, it does matter. That was incorrect. It does matter, because this is what's been affecting my enjoyment of the game in a positive way. See, because you create your main supporting NPC in the same way you make your character, they feel very personal. You choose their class, their voice, the way they behave in battle, you can upgrade them, give them new skills, and, most impressively, they can be hired by other players in their own world, as NPC support in the same way they support you, and they can bring back little gifts for doing good work, and this creates a certain level of incentive to keep your little peon at their best. Might not work for everyone, but it certainly worked for me. So you need your character to be at their best because fights can get pretty tricky pretty fast. Especially when you're stuck on the ground, having to deal with tentacles shooting out the ground and having to deal with giant monsters everywhere. A good pawn gets a good review, gets a good little gift, and also you might get some sense of satisfaction knowing that your pawn was one that helped another player on their way. You can hire other people's peons to serve in your party as well. I'm glad that they take the time to make them useful, because the one time I hired a group of pawns that was a little bit too low in level and a little too under-equipped, I just kept dying, losing hours worth of progress at a time, thinking, I think I might need better peons, so I went back into the little rift dimension to hire new ones. And after some scrounging around, I found a decent party. I've got my main fighter woman, a nice little ranger, and a useful mage that can buff my weapons, heal us, and also shoot ice at people that freezes them in place, that lets me uppercut them into the air with my sword. And we started doing a lot better. And these characters that these other people have played were decently high leveled, and were actually pretty good. It's a feature I came to really enjoy. Rather than having some random tag-along, you've got these pawns, which are apparently, in the lore of the universe, a special kind of slave race which, just does what you tell them to do. It's funny how, when I first picked up the game, I played it for about an hour, at best, and then kind of forgot it existed. It has since, as I said, sat on my hard drive. Never got around to deleting it. Again, as I said, I was going to click on Dark Souls 3 to blow off Steam, and accidentally clicked on this, and this is one of the better mistakes I've made, because I really got into the game. There's something absorbing about Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, even if that title is a bloody roundabout to say. It's not the most visually impressive game, and the voice acting is just bland. In fact, in these two areas, it matches the quality of Everreach perfectly. But the difference is, Everreach was a game that was clearly constructed from stale cornflakes and held together with string made from pubic hair, whereas Dragon's Dogma was made by someone who knew what the hell they were doing. And I don't feel like it was an insult to charge money for it. The combat is much better. Though you lack any sort of lock-on, which makes third-person combat games a little easier to deal with, you can unlock a decent selection of skills for your weapons and shields and some core abilities. Every time you kill enemies you see, you get these discipline points, which can be spent on skills, or later on they can be spent to change what class you are, because once you get to the second town, which is a big capital city, you can change your character's class, and there are also more available in the form of hybrid classes, which, I like. It means you got to put in a little bit of effort before you can get all the good stuff. And that gave me incentive to keep going, because I thought, if this is what it's rewarding me with now, what could possibly be waiting for me later down the line? Obviously, when I found a barber shop, I squeed with delight, knowing I can change my character's appearance whenever I like, because while it does cost in-game money to do so, there are separate layers of what you can customise. Like, if you've only got a little bit of money, say, you can only customise the hairstyle. But if you have about $3,000, you can completely change your skin colour, makeup, eyes, and I just think, you know what? I appreciate this. I appreciate having to put in a bit of work to look how I want to look. It really makes me appreciate it more, rather than just going to some sort of mirror and just changing everything on a whim with no cost or no penalty in any way, shape or form. That's something the game does quite well for me. And like I say, it's just genuinely quite fun to play. Combat's nothing too advanced, but it is still challenging. I like how you can climb up giant monsters, for example, and stick a sword in their eye. I like how you can chain together your special attacks so long as you have the stamina to do so. I like how your party members are actually useful in a fight. They can even hold enemies in place for you so you can stab them. In general, I just really like this game. While it does have a few issues, like I really wish there was a fast travel system. There isn't at the moment, maybe it unlocks later, I don't know. But all of its flaws aren't enough to stop me from wanting to play it. So I think I should thank Everreach in that way, because if I hadn't got annoyed with that game, I wouldn't have accidentally gone back to this game. And Dragon's Dogma is a really good game. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen definitely gets my recommendation, whereas Everreach gets a nice free trip to the gallows with all the other thieves that just took our money. Wait, this is 15th century England, right?